Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Florida Hockey Now Panther Postgame Show. I'm your host, George Richards. It's a late one, right? What do we got here? 11:37 here on the East Coast. Florida Panthers playing in Chicago, IL tonight, taking on the Blackhawks. Chicago pulls out a 4-2 win. The Panthers. Man, I'll tell you what, until that third period, they weren't getting anything going. Uh, Chicago takes an early lead. They're up 2-0 going into the second period. Florida gets 5 power play chances in the second. And I probably don't have to tell you what happened there. Florida goes 0 for 5 on the power play in the second, 0 for 6 overall. They go into the third period down 3-0. Final 10 minutes of the third was all Florida. The Panthers controlled play and scored 2 goals. Eetu Luostarinen gets one, and then about a minute 20 later, minute 15 later, Matthew Tkachuk knocks in a Brandon Montour shot and pulls Florida within 3-2. Alex Stalock, Chicago Blackhawks goaltender, playing out of his mind tonight. He ends up with 29 saves. Florida pulls Sergei Bobrovsky with about 2:05 remaining, and Florida just goes on the full-on assault. Jonathan Toews knocks in chases down a puck which looked to be iced with 23 seconds left, knocks it into the empty net, and that's your 4-2 final. But listen, not a lot of good things to see from the Panthers. But as Paul Maurice said, the one good thing was that you didn't see any quit from the Panthers. You didn't see any jump from them early. It looked like the Chicago Blackhawks really came to play. They've now won 4 in a row. I mean, who would have thought that? Chicago, when you look at their offseason moves, they look like they were going to be at the absolute bottom of the National Hockey League standings. And after losing 2 games to kick things off against Colorado and Vegas, the Chicago Blackhawks have won 4 in a row, so they're 4-2, and Florida drops to 4-2-1. They go to Philadelphia to play the Flyers on Thursday night, and then they come home for one against Ottawa before embarking on their West Coast trip. Let's just talk a little bit about the first. Florida gets a couple scoring chances, and Chicago's able to get one into the net. Philip, who scores? Patrick Kane scores with 23 seconds left in what had been a fairly mundane first period for both sides, right? Not a lot going on. 7 games, no goals for Barkov and Reinhart. They did split them up, Frank, in the third period. We'll go into that in a minute about Paul Maurice splitting up Sasha Barkov and Sam Reinhart. Neither of those really got anything going until the third. Back to Patrick Kane, he scores 23 seconds left in the second to make in the first to make it a 2-0 game going into the second period, and that's where things really started to look like it was going to go Florida's way. Luostarinen gets cut, gets the 4-minute power play for Florida. Nothing happening there. I mean, nothing for 4 minutes. Florida was watching Chicago, a team with 4 shorthanded goals this season. They almost got 5 on that. Uh, so Florida doesn't do anything there. They get another power play, don't do anything there. Then they get a 5-on-3 for, I believe it was a minute 35, and don't do anything with that. All told, the Panthers in the second period go 0 for 5 on the power play. They get 4 shots on goal and 1 high danger shot, 1 high danger chance. That ain't good, folks. We know Chicago's very aggressive with their penalty kill. I thought that the Panthers would have trouble dealing with that. They did. And Florida goes 0 for 6 on the power play overall. They got one in the third period and didn't do anything with that one either. Total 6 power plays, 6 shots on goal for the Panthers. They are now 2 for whatever. They got 2 goals in Buffalo back in game number 2 in the second period. Aaron Ekblad and Brandon Montour get the goals. I believe Florida now, they were 0 for 18, so 0 for 20, their last 24 on the power play. Again, not good. We're going to see what happens. I did a story today on Sasha Barkov and Sam Reinhart. not having any goals. They still don't have any goals. Yesterday, talked to Paul Maurice. I asked him about had he thought about splitting them up, and he was very candid. And he's like, "Listen, I've thought about it. You got to get those guys going. They need to produce. Both players say they need to produce. Even Sam Reinhart's he's like, that's why they brought me in. They brought me in. They're paying me to produce." Um, but Paul Maurice said the other three lines are going so well, he didn't want to mess anything up. Well, going into the third, you knew something was going to happen. At the very beginning of the third period, he flipped centers. He had Sasha Barkov basically take over Matthew Tkachuk and Rudy Bolsers, and then Sam Bennett took Carter Verhaeghe and Sam Reinhart. Later in the game, it was Verhaeghe, Barkov, and Tkachuk. That they seemed to generate a whole lot of stuff. Florida down 3-0. What time was that? 11:32 mark of the second period. Florida finally gets a goal. Luosterainen gets another one. I believe that's 3 on the season for him. And yeah, no snipers on the power play. That definitely hurts. 11:32. So, all right, Panthers showing signs of life. Brandon Montour throws up a shot, and Tkachuk gets a stick on it. That's his fourth of the season. That comes at 12:47. So the Panthers really, I mean, you look at some of these numbers, you would think that the Panthers just owned this game. Chances: Florida 71, Chicago 33. Florida wins the shots on goal. Stalock has to make 29 saves. Bob ends up facing 21 shots, makes 18 saves. He gives up the 3 goals. Like Matthew Tkachuk said in the post game, they left Bob out to dry. He would have liked those first 2 goals back in the first period, no doubt about that. Those were not the toughest goals to stop in the world. But regardless, Bob played a pretty solid game overall. One thing on that third goal, scored by Philip Kurashev in the second period, just before that, Gus Forsling, took a hard shot off the inside of his skate and was really limping. He came back. He ended up playing 10 shifts after being hit in the skate, but he didn't play there at the last 4 minutes of the game. Florida was obviously pressing offensively. They had 4 or 5 forwards out there, with the empty net, just trying to get anything going. The way those things work, most guys when they get hit like that, they're able to come back as long as they're able to stand and push off a little bit. The problem comes after the game when they take the boot off and it just swells up. So that would be another blow to the Florida Panther blue line if Forsling's not able to play Thursday night. I don't know that he won't. I don't know. But a lot of times in these kind of situations, he was really limping. It depends where it hit him, obviously. But we'll have to see what kind of swelling is going on there. The Panthers, I believe, are staying in Chicago. They'll practice there tomorrow at noon. Gus Forsling will not be on the ice tomorrow. Guaranteed that one. Whether he plays on Thursday, time will tell. But, one of those nights for the Panthers, they were due, every team has a stinker every now and then, and that was it for the Panthers. For the first, 45 minutes or so. I thought in the third period they started coming. They were getting some really good looks. It took, Luosterainen until he got his goal again at 11:32 or whatever, 11:32 of the third period, before Florida got one past Stalock. So nice game by the Chicago goalie. And again, the Florida Panthers lose by a final of 4-2. They go to Philadelphia on Thursday. Not much more to say about this game. I mean, it wasn't the most entertaining game until the end. Florida, when they had that net empty, boy, they were going at it hard as they always do. They really did put up a bunch of fight, but you would have liked to see that earlier in the game. You definitely need to see a power play or goal or two come through, because right now it's starting to get ridiculous, right? I mean, absolutely ridiculous. There's just too many good players out there for this number to continue. Again, Chicago plays a very aggressive style. You're going to see a lot of teams do that against Panthers. I think in years past we saw Carolina really be aggressive on the forecheck against Florida. They got into a lot of the lanes. Florida couldn't do anything, and it didn't look like Florida was really trying to get the puck in deep like they had been on the power play before. So maybe they were, a little wary of the Chicago penalty kill. But regardless, it is what it is. It's Game 7. Florida Panthers now 4-2-1 going to Philadelphia. Jordan, it was painful to watch those first two periods. It was power play difference every game. We'll see what happens. I mean, we'll see if they come out with a different look. Personnel wise, I don't think they're going to change any systems. Maybe they go back to something more simple. I don't know. The 1-3-1 doesn't seem that complicated, but and I like Montour up top. I think he's doing a pretty good job there. But Chicago was just they were winning a lot of faceoffs too on those power plays. So Florida was right off the hop, trying to bring it out of the defensive zone. So we'll have to see. Is sit Barkey for a game? No, that's not gonna happen. You're not gonna sit Barkov. You're not gonna sit Reinhart. Those are two of your top players. I just don't see that happening. They're going to get going. I mean, listen. Last year, I think in the entire month of October, Reinhardt had one goal or something, and Barkov the last couple of years has gotten off to some pretty bad starts. The first year of the Joel Quenneville in 2019, I believe Barkov went 12 games without scoring, the first 12 games, and then he ended up with 20. That was a shortened season because of COVID, but he still ended up third or fourth on the team in goals scored with 20. Yeah, I think Huberdeau has some effect leaving, sure. I mean, because they've changed up a bunch of stuff. Huberdeau been here forever. Everybody knows how to play with Jonathan Huberdeau. Now you've got some new faces in some pretty key places. But regardless, they'll get things going. I mean, that's basically my gist. I mean, my long-winded gist here. I mean, the Florida Panthers will get things going, especially guys like Sam Reinhart, especially guys like Sasha Barkov. Did Huberdeau have an effect on Barkov this season? I don't think so. I really don't. I think Barkov's his own man. Let's not forget, Barkov and Huberdeau only played together for the most part the last couple seasons on the power play. They were not on the same line. Only in desperation did Joel Quenneville or Andrew Brunette put Jonathan Huberdeau back with Barkov. And whenever they did, it was short-lived. They went back to whatever because they liked spreading that wealth on the second, the top two lines. So I think Barkov can play with anybody. I think he and Reinhardt are going to complement each other. They haven't yet. I think you're seeing a lot of chances go by the wayside. And eventually those will start going in. Those two players are too good. So we're gonna see what happens moving forward. But again, I wouldn't worry about Barkov and I wouldn't worry about Reinhardt. They're gonna get theirs. They always do. And it'll start sooner than later, most likely. So I thought it might have started tonight. I thought, tonight might have been the thing, but it wasn't. So they'll have to wait till they go to Philadelphia to get things rolling. But anyway, they all seem so sold on Mark Stahl. Yeah, Mark Stahl on the power play. I don't know. I don't know how much power play time he's got in the past. I honestly just don't. Any news on Ekblad? No, nothing. He's still on long-term injured reserve. He has to miss 10 games. He's missed, how many has he missed? 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So he's at 5 games now. He has to miss 5 games in 24 days. 10 games and 24 days. I believe the next time he can come back is November 12th against Edmonton. So that's when you start asking about Ekblad. We haven't seen him on the ice yet. But again, he's still 5 games away. The Florida's going on the West Coast. They're going to play California. I would not be surprised if Aaron Ekblad's on that road trip and maybe gets some ice time and maybe at the end of that starts practicing with his teammates again. But they just want to see him skating and everything. He's been working out at the rink and he's being around the guys. So that's always good news, but he won't be back until November 12th, I think, is the date. Whatever that Edmonton game is, I believe, is the first game Aaron Ekblad could return. So, when do you think Denisenko will get a fair chance? Right now, I think with Denisenko, he has to show the Panthers something, right? I mean, I think the Panthers would love to have him play in a top nine role. I don't think you really want him playing a fourth line role. I think he needs to put up some numbers in Charlotte. Um, he didn't really show anything at this training camp. He was hurt the second half of last season. He had a broken kneecap. So he still, needs some time to develop. Panthers right now don't have any roster space anyway. So if they were to lose a couple players to injury, a couple forwards to injury, I don't know that he isn't the first call up. I don't think he is, but he might be. I don't know. So it just depends what's going on down there at Charlotte. I don't get to see their games, so I really don't know other than what I see from the statistics. But as far as Denisenko goes, all I can see is what's going on. TK's asking, is Forsling hurt? He did play 10 shifts after he took the puck off the skate. None in the final 4 minutes or final 3 minutes of the game after Sergei Bobrovsky left the ice. We'll see what happens tomorrow with the swelling. Yeah, I mean, there was only one preseason there, but I don't know. Hepa Noemi should have got a shot. Well, I agree. I thought Hepa Noemi made this team in a normal year. And I posted that on Twitter, and so people will go, well, how could you say that? Well, if the Panthers were carrying 23 players, I think Hepa Noemi gets one of those forward spots. I think Florida signs Eric Stahl, and I think Hepa Noemi gets that other forward spot, and then you bring on a seventh defenseman. These are not normal times. Florida only carried 20. So listen, Hepa Noemi's getting a great opportunity in Charlotte. When Florida has injuries, they're going to bring him back. He'll get an opportunity here, but he's also getting a terrific opportunity in Charlotte to really play some major minutes, play top line minutes, play on the top power play. That's something he couldn't get here. I know it's the AHL and everything, but that's a pretty darn good league for a developing player. Alexei Hepanoemi is still a developing player, even though he's out of his entry-level contract. This is only his fourth professional season, so have some patience with those guys. Same with Denisenko. I believe this is his third professional season. So this is a guy that played his whole career in Russia. Didn't get a lot of playing time. If you remember, he was playing up in age, playing in the KHL. Didn't get a whole lot of minutes, so his development has been slowed a little bit. Have some patience with some of these young guys. That's all I'm saying. So Florida doesn't have the room for him anyway. So what's it matter? Let them go to Charlotte and help them. Checkers are 4-0 this season, one of their best starts in franchise history. So good for the Charlotte Checkers, who are on the road for the first time. They're 4-0 to start all those games at Bojangles Coliseum in Charlotte, and I believe they're in Hartford on Friday night. So check that out if you're in the Hartford area. The Checkers and the Wolf Pack, 2 words. Anywho, that'll do it for me. Thank you guys for joining us. I appreciate it as always. Don't forget to follow us here on the Florida Hockey Now YouTube channel. Check us out at FloridaHockeyNow.com for all your daily Florida Panthers needs. We've got a lot of good stuff coming up this week. I think you're going to really like it. Some good stuff there. I think check out that Sasha Barkov, Sam Reinhart story if you haven't done so. It's right there up on the homepage. Follow me on Twitter at George Richards, Colby at Colby D Guy. So until Thursday night, I will bid you adieu. Good night, everybody. Have a good one.